My boy.
What's happening?
So I feel like we need like a quarterly get your shit together ceremony. You know what I mean? So
coming to Jesus talk right now.
That's right. So you back, man. You back. I can't. I'm every time I'm like I got a spot to fill. I'm putting you in it.
Hell yeah,
let's
go.
I feel like we just got to keep this thing rolling like every quarter. Because
we always hit some kind of new spin on something.
Well, I always have. I have people on here all the time. We have a good time. We talk some shit, but me and you, we get down to brass tacks. So,
there ain't no other way. There's a lot of fluff. There's not a whole lot of substance, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree.
So, it's kind of cool, man. And plus, I'm always on a new wave. Always.
All right. What's going on to your life now, bro? What you got going on?
I'm trying to make everything that is happening the most optimal that you can.
Okay.
So, like working with military, trying to set every standard that could be set to improve their life. Everyone. It doesn't matter if it's relational, if it's like when I sit and talk with them, if it's professional, like what are you going to do after the military? Like use this as leverage for the next thing. Like this is your first business partner to fuel the rest of your life goals kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that try to apply that to my kids, to myself, to when we come in here and doing this, like this is fun to me, but it's still going towards optimizing somebody else's life.
Yeah.
So I like coming in here and I like doing it to myself is trying to get to the bottom of it. So like being a reductionist, I've been really, really trying to boil it down to the lowest form and then figuring out where it is and poking it.
Yeah.
So doesn't matter what the scenario is, I want to make it to where it's easily digestible, but is really uncomfortable to stay in there and like face it. Like when I came for the New Year's resolution, I said I was full of shit.
Yeah.
And really and truly I was.
Yeah.
And so since then, lots and lots of development on my end to where I don't have any of those sticking points. I just have new sticking points. So like the stuff that would hold you back, whether it was procrastination or you drank too much coffee that you don't want to drink water, or you train.
You sound like my inner voice.
Yeah, like you train to get away from things instead of be adult and to be grown enough to confront the things that the gym is not going to solve. So a lot of people go to the gym and they hide because they can train it away. But what happens when you get hurt?
Yeah. What do you do then? You lose your fucking mind.
You can't hide anymore. And you have to develop other ways to deal with that stuff. So like doing stuff like that to where you can't hide anymore. I can hide from everybody else. I can hide from my wife. I can hide from work. I can't hide from me.
Yeah.
Because you know what you are and you know what you should be. And there is a disconnect. So we got to get back to what that is.
Yeah.
That's the best.
I like it, man. I like it. Well, I have a question. So, like, you're working with all these. I gotta say it. These kids in the military because they're young, right? Young. I'm not saying that kids like no disrespect, but they're just young. So, like, from that standpoint now versus what it would have been 10 years ago, I feel like those people may come in a little. Man, I don't want to. Fuck it. I'm gonna be honest. They're gonna come in a little more soft.
Yes.
Than they would have 10 years ago or 10 years prior.
Sure.
So, like, how do you're such a on-the-head individual. Mm-hmm. How do you, like, dumb that down for them or say, like, look. I don't. Okay, so, but I feel like there's some apprehension there, like the way someone takes it. You know what I mean?
They get in their feelings for a minute. And I'm adjusting this thing because.
No, you're good, man. Do what you got to do.
You my T-Rex arms.
Yeah.
So I don't sugarcoat it at all.
Yeah.
And that it comes across.
Well, answer this then. Like, but is that true? Like, do these people come in do they come in these programs and just, like, especially depending on what division they're in, do they come? These aren't like top tier Marines coming in here, so they come in and just think, okay, this is just regular. We're going to do like regular physical stuff here. It's not going to be that bad.
I'll give you the psychology. I'm always studying people, constant. I'm always looking at why did you do what you did? Why did you say what you said? Why are you here? What are we doing? That whole reductionist. I'm gonna smash it down until I can figure it out. Because I don't think I'm that smart. I just figure out the common sense kind of way. I'm not really that smart. But they will tell on themselves, and they don't know that they're telling on themselves because you just ask open-ended questions, and then they kind of go, oh, yeah, well, that's what it is. So a lot of those kids, they're trying to escape a bad scenario where they're in podunk nowhere.
So when they're joining the military is what you're saying.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are kids that they're trying to figure out how can they make it better than what the place that they came from, and they will take any route to get out of there. Unfortunately, there is a large percentage that are the just enough. So where you meet the standard, but you don't exceed because they don't see that it's valuable to exceed the standard, because what reward are you going to get out of it? Still going to get the same pay, still going to live in the same place. So they have this ceiling mentality of like the rank structure. That's just kind of how it goes until you get good enough at your job and score on the test and certain time and grade. Then you move up a supervisory type position where the way that you and I think in military is like G.I. Joe, you know.
Well, I mean, I just know that's not the case, right? That's a very, very minute percentage of the military. And that's, I think most people have that thought too.
Yeah.
And they need to realize, and that's why I brought it up, because I think about it, right? You know, they need to realize that these are just regular kids coming out of high school going into a career.
Just regular, man. And then there's some kids that they view it as like an educational opportunity.
Right. And a lot of them do that, yeah.
And that there's a great benefit from being, man, they have so many benefits. Granted, there's some drawbacks, serious drawbacks. You're away from your family. You can get sent to the sandbox quick. And that you kind of don't know anybody, and you may not be in a career field that you love, so they can get jaded real quick. So you have the ones that are trying to escape home. You have the ones that are trying to get their school paid for. Then you have the ones that you would think is like gang busters, like I'm getting after this thing. And those are going to be that anyways. So you're going to get those kids that they're saying, no, I want to serve my country. I want to go do this. I want to get in the pipeline. So they'll get in the Air Force because some of the other branches, maybe they didn't have the job that they're looking for or whatever. And that they get in the Air Force, and then once they get to a certain stage and they get all their schooling and whatnot, or their training, I should say, then some of them go into the pipeline. So you special operator, you get a special tactics officer, or if you're going combat rescue or any of those types where they are the elite of the elite, but they're going to be that anyways.
Right.
Now the officers, a little different. So you get your docs, like your PAs. Usually there's a lot of PAs. You get about 6-7 docs on base because we have a clinic, we have a hospital. But the PAs probably getting their school paid for because they're in the ROTC program, or like they applied for some kind of special thing, and that they're going to climb the ranks because they get paid really well. They move every 2-3 years. And then at a certain point, they're just like, I think I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
And that their main motivation is, number one is, do I stay alive and I've progressed out of Podunk, Illinois? Or number two, can I get this school paid for $150,000, $200,000 degree while we're in here, or the GI Bill, whatever, 9/11 or whatever they call it. And then the door kickers, they're going to do what they're supposed to do anyways, doesn't matter. They enjoy it. And then you get the officer route where some of them want to go into corporate leadership, some of them want to get their schooling paid for, but every last one of them, the last thing on their head is physical preparedness. The only ones that think about physical preparedness are the door kicker type.
Yeah.
And that I really think that it's cool interacting with them, because what I thought when I met my wife and she said she was military, I was going, man,
she's a badass.
Cool. Yeah. And she trained. I mean,
right.
she ran, did all her stuff. I said, oh, cool. So everybody is like this. No,
It's not the case.
No, they're not. That is the exception to the rule.
And nothing against that.
No.
I didn't want to, I'm not putting those, I'm just want to, like, I'm trying to, formulate a, 1,000-foot view here.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
So this is what I have to combat on a day-to-day basis. So I have to level with them and say, look, I know you may only be here for this, and this, but I need you to understand this. There's a term called readiness and resilience that gets drilled into their face every day from when they go to basic training all the way through their career. But nobody really internalizes what that is to be ready or resilient. So I stop them cold, and this is top leadership all the way down to baby airmen, and that you stop them and say, okay, what does readiness mean to you? And people are like, well, you got to be able to respond. I said, respond how? And so I tell them, I said, look, me being ready is you could tell me right now that I have a PT test in 6 minutes. And I say, all right, what shoes? Let me get some shorts.
Yeah.
That is ready. Or like if a plane crashed outside, do you think they're looking at me to drag bodies? Or are they looking at you? So if you can't sprint, get over a fence, drag a body, get them over the fence, drag them to safety, run and make an intelligent decision, phone call, whatever you got to do, triage, whatever, you are not ready. And if you're not ready, we got work to do. It's not a guilt trip. It's just, look, this is more than a PT standard. This is, you need to save life. And then the resilient part to me is both mental and physical. Strong things don't break easy. So if you're strong, probably not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
If you're mentally strong and you're used to doing hard things every day, like training, then when something bad comes on in life, you go, shit, okay, now what am I going to do? It's not like I'm going to hide under the covers and that I don't know what to do. I'm used to training. I'm used to being in the suck. It doesn't matter. You're going to figure it out. So getting them to understand the basis of even the words that they use and say, you need to be intentional with your words and then apply them like you mean it.
Well, there's so many instances where you hear things like people going to the academy, like say they're going to police academy or they're going to the fire department or whatever, or the military, and they're like, PT, man, it's going to be so rough, blah, blah, blah. But like that shouldn't be the hardest thing you do.
No.
That should be the easiest thing you do if you're wanting to fulfill that or fill that position, because that is a daily requirement for that position.
Yes.
But what happens is it's just over time, there's just less and less individuals that are in peak performance shape. And so it becomes then something that's a hurdle before you even start the process. Like I guarantee you, someone listening or watching, or just they know someone, if it's not them, who has been in the situation where they're like, man, I really want to do that, but I don't think I'm going to be in good enough shape to do it.
Sure.
And that's a problem.
Sure.
And that should be your number one priority. But the way societies and the way things have happened over the years is just how soft we are now as individuals. Like, even though I feel like I'm in good shape, I still call myself soft every day, because I was just having this conversation last night with my wife. We're so much softer than our ancestors 100 years before us. 100%. Even though you and I may be in good shape and can roll rounds and spar and lift weights all day, like we're still bitch made compared to our ancestors 100 years ago.
100%.
So it's like it's stuff has just gotten softened down over the years, and it's just one of those things where it's like, that should be the last thing you worried about. You should be worried about the technicality of it and what your position is and what you should what's your response position, what you should be doing. Not, oh shit, I got to do 100 push-ups and run, a mile. I don't know if I can do that. And
that's why I had the hardest time educating at first, because I come from a stance of, what do you mean?
Yeah, right.
So
how do you level with those individuals? Because you have a different mindset, right?
So you tell them,
you want some? You gonna drink? You make me drink along, bro.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No,
I just
you're
got
good, bro.
Story.
Cheers.
Yeah. So the way that I was thinking of it is, I had to take a step back because I was deflecting what is in me.
Gotcha.
I was projecting what was in me.
Gotcha.
And expecting them to be that. Mm-hmm. That ain't gonna happen.
Right.
Some people are just not built like that. So I had to level with them and saying, okay, what level of preparedness are you willing to go to? And then do you know the outcomes of those levels? If you are at the standard, just the standard, I'm promising you in 20 years, if you stay doing that, you're gonna be injured. If you're just above the standard, you're going to probably stave off some injury and you probably live a decent life, but you have some issues. If you become excellent at being prepared to do that task, whether it's a wrench turner on that airplane, or if it's a firefighter dragging hoses, or if it's security forces that are running down suspects, whatever that is, if you become the example of response time, or like the readiness thing, you're probably not going to be hurt, and you're probably going to have a better time doing this thing, because you're going to fall back to the level of training that you have. So fatigue makes cowards out of everyone. So if
Yes.
you have such a surplus of ability, when shit hits the fan, you go, bet I'm still 99% better than anyone in the world at doing this. I'm still going to make good decisions. Lives are still saved. If you're down here, you're going to migrate to just barely enough. If you're at the standard, you will be below the standard, and then lives are lost.
Yeah.
So I try to level with them on that end of I care about them as people, not as military members, not as firemen, security, or police, just people.
Well, there's a fine line too, right? Because a lot of people in these positions, that becomes their identity.
Sure.
And sometimes to their own detriment. You know what I mean? Because you have to be, we're not saying if you're in any of these positions, you have to be a top tier athlete.
No.
Just, go above and beyond for whatever that task is that you have agreed to, to perform.
Right.
And so it's not so much an attack on, if you're not in amazing shape, you can't do this. But it's more of, are you the best you can be at this task that you have agreed to do?
Yeah.
At the highest potential. And if you're not, there's things you need to work on. And 80% of those, probably 50% of those will be physical, and the other 50 will be mental. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know the statistics, but I'm just thinking, so it's fortitude on both sides, right?
Yeah. So, and it depends on the job that you have.
Yeah. Right.
So,
because there's some that requires minimal physical labor, but
mental capacity.
The mental intensity far surpasses the physical.
It has been proven over and over and over again. The more physically fit that you are, the more mental capacity you have.
Yeah.
And so if you elevate your physical capacity, then your mental cognition is going to be far greater. So it doesn't matter if you're in finance. You're like, well, I'm going to have a desk job. Why do I need to train? Well, if your back is hurt and your knees are hurt and you're 50 pounds overweight and you have sleep apnea, you're not going to have great attendance at work, number one. So there's work days lost, which is millions and millions of dollars. And I work on that every year in the Air Force. I think we saved them last year, almost $4 million.
Okay, how does that work? Let's talk about that.
What's that?
Like the work days lost. Like what does that look like?
It's all preventative. It's preventative symptoms that you have to call off work.
Gotcha.
So if you smoke, if you don't sleep, if you have bad knees, if your back hurts, if you're sick all the time, you have to take sick days off because you got to go to the doctor for said things. If you're not at work, that means there's man days lost.
What in the military? Like, what do they accept as time off? What is the lowest tier of that? Like, it can't be migraines, right? I mean, what is it? It
could be, but then it's all goes off of like medical visits.
Okay, so it's based on diagnosis and what you're prescribed and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and so it's tens of millions of dollars.
Right, I can only imagine.
Because I did the math and I reached out to all the finance people and all the really smart people in the room, and it is tens, hundreds of millions of dollars across the whole enterprise that are at stake if you don't optimize your workforce, because this is just a corporate structure. It's a business.
It's a business. It's just a business in different aspects. Yeah, in defense. Yeah.
So if you don't manage your assets correctly, because there's preventable stuff so let's say you have 5 people that are working on a project, and that 2 of the people are, pretty morbidly obese and they smoke all the time, and that they are out for 3 weeks out of the year cumulative because they have bronchitis symptoms. Now you have part of a team that is overworked and overstressed and burnt out because they're picking up the slack of those other people for 3 weeks. Now imagine if that's a wrench turner job. That's way harder. Because now you're messing with jet engines and all the other stuff, pulling hose or whatever job is. But if it's a 5-man team and you're functioning with 2 or 3, you can imagine how your job satisfaction is going to go. And so you're going to lose talent by that too. So it all goes into that. I look at the police force. I talked to, I don't know if he's a lieutenant or whatever, but he's on my son's, he helps coach my son's wrestling team.
Gotcha.
And I told him the same stuff that I do. I said, why doesn't the sheriff department have this? And that I guarantee you there's people that they take off a bunch of work because they're not physically conditioned, and that they're sick because they don't have the right lifestyle. And that if they were to sleep and they were to eat and they were to train, I promise you would have a better workforce, and you'd have better candidates.
You are like essentially the accountability sergeant.
Correct.
That's what you are.
Correct.
And
so it's just truth.
Yeah, but so many, especially in these positions and these types of industries, so many people need that. But you're right. There's not a position for that, right?
No, but there should be.
Yeah.
So there at every police department, every fire department, every military base. Now, military bases usually have one of me, but it needs to be pervasive. So if you are a life-saving entity, if you're EMS, if you're fire, if you're police, you should have someone that is versed in human performance, and there should be the ability to make sure that your people are cared for.
Well, your job, your number one job is response. Mm-hmm. Like that is it. Like if you're fire department, if you're police, if you're military, if you're EMS, it's response.
See?
And
are you ready?
And sometimes defend depending on the position, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, are you able to so many people know these people who've been in these positions for X amount of years, and they worked their way up to whatever position it may be.
Sure.
And so they've gained 50 pounds. Yeah, I remember when I used to do that, blah, blah, when I was your age. You should still be able to do that, or at least, some portion of that, because as the pecking order goes, at some point you may be called. And if you are you prepared? But that's something that we're lacking. And unfortunately, it's systematic, right? It's from a society that, it's everywhere. It's not just those positions, but no one wants to talk about it because no one wants to body shame anyone,
I don't care.
I don't give a fuck either, because I've been a fat kid before.
You've
been a fat kid before. You know what I mean?
Care. And look, it's not even shaming. It's just not hiding.
No, it's right.
You just say it plainly.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're an ugly piece of shit. I'm saying you do not perform up to these standards, and I need you to be at these standards so that you could do your position.
Yeah.
At least meet that criteria, and if excel that criteria, great. But if you can at least meet that, then okay, we're where we need to be. If not, we're literally having an uphill battle, because you're wasting my time, you're wasting our resources, you're wasting the tax dollar. You're wasting all these things.
I would feel so terrible if somebody was depending on somebody to save them, and that they were not in the physical condition to do it because either they were a really big person or really skinny, small person, and they could not lift or pull somebody out of some kind of car accident or whatever.
And I have to say this because I know people are going to have some apprehension.
That's okay.
If they're in the position to where they're supposed to be doing that and they don't meet those standards, that's where we're talking about it. We're not talking about a regular person saying, oh, a car just flipped right here, you're a normal average citizen. You should have been stronger so you could pull them out. No, we're talking about the people who signed up for this position and agreed to do these tasks. If somewhere after PT, after basic training and everything, and maybe your first 2 or 3 years of PT or whatever, after that, now you're not in the same, physical state as you were.
Sure.
And why is that?
That's the whole thing of human performance that I think is very underutilized right now. I think it's starting to catch some traction because it works. If you have the right team in place, it works. So like the stuff that the special operations community uses, and they have embedded people that live there every day, all day, it works. There's a reason why it works, because you have people that provide you resources to make you be able to do the job you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So if NASCAR has strength coaches, how do we not have strength coaches in the police department? Yeah. How do we not have dedicated
entertainment sport?
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not hating on NASCAR. Look, the pit crew that you got to be extra boom, 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 got to go.
Oh, they don't play.
Got G-forces in the car. I get it.
Yeah.
But our emphasis on care is not in the appropriate way. So if you have the most important people in society, the most important people in society are people that are in the armed forces, the Department of Defense, your police officers, your EMTs, and then you have, what would be the other one?
Any of your first responders.
Any of the first responders, they're the most important people.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'd put teachers in that same category.
Yeah.
And not that teachers need to be yoked up, but you know what I'm saying.
Their mental fortitude should be high.
Yeah. So like there's these things called cognitive performance specialists that they bridge the gap between strength conditioning and mental performance. So they're starting to become a wave of almost like sports psychologists mixed with strength coaches, that you're performing exhaustive tasks and then you have to do like a puzzle or a game or a light board or whatever. So that way you function well under stress.
Ah, okay.
So there should be more of a push like that. Now, funding is what it is, and that it's always, there's three things that drive the whole world is money, manpower, time.
Yeah.
And that money, manpower, time, if they can't justify it, they ain't giving it.
Yeah.
So if we can establish data points that say, well, when we have proficient professionals in place, here is the return on investment. So they didn't listen. Nobody listened to what I said until I put numbers to it.
So when they brought you in, essentially, what's happened since when you got there versus what you? Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, buddy. So hey, my whole goal when I got there, and anything that I ever do, I wanted to make Barstow the shiniest thing in the whole
Answer
sandbox.
me this first, because we haven't talked about it. So how did you even land in this position? Because you were doing, when I met you, you were doing personal training.
Yeah.
And you have an extensive athletic, background to where you know your shit. You set world records in certain categories.
Sure.
You're world champion in Jiu Jitsu. You've done multiple things. You have plenty of accolades. So you're well qualified. But like, how did this land in your lap per se?
So call it universe, call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you call it. Some people swear it's God or Great Spirit. I don't care. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
Whatever it is that is guiding what I'm supposed to do is definitely put me in the right places. So I was my second go around for going to the FBI.
I didn't even know about this.
You didn't even know?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, man. So
you were trying to get in the FBI.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at the last part.
Okay.
And that I've been training because my wife was set to retire in 2-3 years, and I was thinking, well, I can't retire from training. You can't. You cannot, unless you have some kind of system that you've created that it's automated. You don't retire. Mm-hmm. What's that guy? Jim? It's Jim something. He has a gym franchise. Long haired dude. Oh, I can't remember his name. It's Jim something. Jim.
What's his gym? What's the name of his gym?
It's a franchise. When I think of it, it's going to pop in my head.
We'll probably think of it later.
But he was talking with Mark Bell from he was on his podcast before. I think he was training with him. But you don't retire from training. You can make a lot of change and difference in people's lives. I've seen people's kids graduate from high school, like from little kids all the way to high school. You have great impact on people's lives, and you can make a lot of money if you're good. But you cannot walk away. So you paint yourself a really nice prison. So you have all the impact,
sense, yeah.
all the money that you could ever want. It's most money I've ever seen in my life. But I was utterly miserable because I could never step away. No. How are you going to step away?
Because you're their accountability. Like you're there, and then you feel sort of responsible. And if you're not there, then it's a hit to them and you. So
you built a relationship for a decade with some of these people. Some of these people I trained with for 10 years straight. Yeah. And you have, you remember the family that they joked and said that I was a grocery bill. Yeah. And that it was a non-negotiable. It's in the budget. Yeah. So great impact on people's lives. And man, I met some awesome people doing this. Taught me a lot about life, a lot about finance, business, everything. But there was no way that I could step away. So no amount of money is worth, at 60 years old, I'm not training nobody.
But you see those.
That's so sad to me.
I know. It's sad to me too, but you see it.
And
you see it. You see these people who have lost their physical, fitness and everything because they're so dedicated to the client that they don't even look the part anymore because they're not giving themselves the time.
They're burnt out, man. Yeah. And it's a young man's game. Yeah, just like
it is.
Me. That's why I'm not a strength coach. Yeah, it's a young man's game. And so I've started, and I thank God that I take steps back and try to figure out what am I good at. Because when I got to Louisiana, I didn't know anybody, didn't know anything. I was like, whoa, I'm going to try. That training the whole day. I know about training. I can do that any day of the week. Mm-hmm. But I wanted something I could retire from and that was going to make a big impact. So where I said, all right, what am I good at? And it all boiled down to I'm great at helping people. That is a gift of mine, and it is what it is. Every time I try to make money doing anything else, it never worked. It has failed miserably every time. But when I help people, it works every time. I've never been in something where I'm helping somebody that it didn't do good.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, law enforcement, I kind of boiled down to it. I was like, man, I really could be law enforcement. I'm like, but they don't make
no money,
enough
no
income.
Money. Yeah.
And then you're getting the worst people that hate you, and you're just trying to help everybody. It's just unfortunate. And I used to not want to be a cop because I'd had to tell my relatives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like as a kid, like I always thought being a cop would be cool, but then I went, no, but I'm gonna have to arrest my dad and my uncles.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So I just pushed it out the way, but it came back and said, okay, law enforcement, but if I'm gonna do law enforcement, I want to go all the way. So I looked at all the alphabet boys, where CIA, ATF, FBI, all the big ones, because the path to success is pretty good, and you can retire at a good retirement. So I said, you know what, screw it. What's the worst? I'm going to try. And then tried, sure enough. I'd get the email. You push through. I'd go to the interview. We'd like to invite you back. I went to the testing. Hey, we want to. It just kept going. So I'm thinking, well, maybe this is the path that I'm supposed to do. And then for some reason, I got to the end and didn't make it. And that it is what it is.
It definitely wasn't the physical side. It wasn't the physical side.
And I had a perfect 50 in all of their stuff.
I bet.
And that was in my head, is if you score perfect, you get on the wall at Quantico, your picture.
Yeah.
So I smashed that. Yeah, right. But the second you can't apply for another year, full calendar year. So like I was dejected, just coming. I'm like, man, they don't tell you why that you didn't make it, you just didn't make it. And then I was, I don't know, 3-4 days away from reapplication, and you go to the head of the line because you've already done the BS.
Done it, yeah.
And then my wife had heard, it was like, hey, there's a health promotion thing open on base. You should apply. And I'm thinking, man, I applied for that way back in like 2007 in Charleston. I was thinking, that's pretty cool. I said, well, where do I apply? She said, well, send me your resume, do this. And they had sent it back to me, and it was in my junk mail. Didn't even know. She goes, did you apply? Like they're trying to get a hold of you. And did you miss the deadline? So I said, well, here, give me the lady's number. And I called her and went in there and interviewed. I didn't know what a health promotion coordinator was. I have no idea. To me, it's just another title. So went in there, had a great interview, lots of experience I didn't know exactly about military culture. I don't know about that. But I know about people.
Yeah.
And that when I got in there, I got in there and I didn't want to like completely kick doors in, but when I got in there, I was
Don't bullshit
I was
me. Yeah,
floored.
you did. You wanted to kick some doors in.
I was floored because there was so much opportunity for growth. I don't think people could hear me clearly enough because they're like, this person's new. They don't know what's going on. And that I just started making big chunks of change where there's just new expectations. There's like the sleep hygiene program. It's pretty decent.
How's that work?
The program?
Let's just break them down because I know we're going to get into them.
So sleep hygiene stuff is, I figured it out. Like I didn't place any emphasis on fatigue management because why? If you have a race car, drive it fast. What's wrong with you? And you work harder and you just do it. You sleep because at nighttime because you're just tired and you go to sleep. I don't think anything about fatigue management.
Yeah.
But when you learn the science, and I had the really great fortune of sharing an office with an aerospace physiologist who was an instructor.
Oh, that's interesting,
and watched her go through her spiel, and I went, man, I know this. I'm going to listen to the justification. Then I started doing lots of research. And like Matt Walker, and I'm listening to Rhonda Patrick, and I read some of the books, and you just keep going down the rabbit hole. And then I started being the one that was teaching because I knew more than she did. Mm-hmm. So when I realized that the sleep was the key to everything, that's when it got better. Like all the numbers.
Based on fatigue and performance.
Mm-hmm. Because brain health.
we've talked about this, and I don't like to beat it in the head because I've talked about it multiple times. But every single time we have an episode, someone new's listening, so I have to.
Sure.
But like I've been managing fatigue, recovery, and all that for like 2 years now, and I'm at the pinnacle of my physical performance. Like I just am. I way before any time I was fighting, cutting weight, training, doing all these things. Like I can just compete now on a physical, platform better than I ever could because I've been managing these things. I've been watching them. But like, what is your ideal scenario? Like based on strain, what's your sleep scenario? Like what do you think?
I get the same amount of sleep no matter if I train my face off or if I don't.
Okay. And what is that?
So mine usually, how many hours? 7.
Okay. So for me, it's 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. Everyone's different though.
You have your own thumbprint.
Yes.
And so that's what I teach is you can fix it in 3 days. You can reset your circadian clock in 3 days. But that requires you to not be a punk about it and do the steps that I'm asking. And that when you do it, it works. You can switch it anytime you want. Let's say that you went to work at midnights. It's going to suck for the first couple of days, but after that, you've already set your clock. You're done. And that you roll with that clock until you switch back over. So it's once I learned that sleep is the key to all, then everything else got easy.
How do you monitor your physical strain? Because I've been using this Whoop strap for a couple years now. I guess around like year 2, and I love it. But like, how do you monitor yours? Like, so how do you know
pain?
Yeah, but that's different for everyone, right? Because
just for me,
right? For you, like, but how do you teach others to monitor that?
If you're so classic overtraining, which I hate.
Okay, so let's take. Let me put this in context. So let's take someone who has a moderate physical condition, or conditioning, to where they work out every now and then. They do a little over the bare minimum, but then they get into this program where they want to up their game a little bit.
Sure.
So how do they monitor that stuff?
You monitor it by your performance.
Okay.
So I don't even believe in overtraining. I don't believe in it.
Me either.
And that
you just train another muscle if that one's hurting. That's how I think about it.
I think that no one, I shouldn't say no one, very few have ever been to that place of overtraining, and that usually it's just under recovery, whether it's food or it's sleep, or just sitting on a couch. You can do couch planks for the day. That's what you do. And that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there is very few people are going to touch that button.
Yeah.
I mean, the elite of the elite. That's why you're wearing wearables and you're trying to like dial it in and making sure that you get your carbs at a certain time, making sure that you got naps scheduled. Like it's a whole process. Average person, you should know by the performance. So let's say week 1, you were able to do 5 sets of 10 with 75 pounds. Week 2, 5 sets of 10 with 80 pounds. Week 3, 5 sets of 10 with 60 pounds. Something's wrong. You are not recovered. So there is an easy way to tell if you're just weak. Change the workout.
Yeah.
So I have adjusted my training so many times it is ridiculous. Because just because it's on the paper doesn't mean it's getting done. Not anymore. Because I may not be recovered enough to get the stimulus that I'm asking for. So if there's a certain output that you're looking for, you need to be able to hit that mark. If you can't, either you need to change the stimulus or you need to get some more rest. So like, let's say that you have a Tendo unit. Do you know what those are?
Yeah.
Like the bar velocity. Yeah. If your bar velocity falls below X amount, the set's done. And that I don't care if it's on set 2 of 10.
Yeah,
if the
I don't
velocity
care if
is,
you don't feel good about it or not. Yeah.
And that you just
that's another blocker, right? So many people are like, "Well, I didn't get that this week. It's horrible." No, you can move on to another movement.
Man, I lighten it up and then just do it. Just you still can get training in.
Yeah, like I mean, I was doing a workout yesterday, and I was just telling you before, like we were doing 5x5s, like 80% of your max, whatever, and trying to build up the actual PR. Mm-hmm. And I was only pulling, I think I got up to 365 on deadlifts, but that's all my body wanted that day. So it just is what it is.
That is where maturity meets performance.
Ego gets in the way of that shit. So really early on,
unless you're being paid for it, what are we doing?
Exactly.
So, and it took me 20 years. Yeah, it took me 20 years to realize if I'm not being paid for it, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And that the training plan is the training plan. If the training plan goes off track, so what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's say I had programmed.
I don't want anyone to confuse your mentality with if you're not getting paid for it, it's not your job.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't want to.
I'm saying, like, you're not a world-class athlete.
Yeah, I'm not trying to hurt myself to prove a point to anyone because I'm not getting any reward for that. But at the same time, you need to push yourself.
Yeah. So look at it like this. If your program is accurate and it's decent, you're going to hit your numbers. If your program sucks, you're going to hit your numbers.
Yeah.
Because your food is out of whack, your sleep is out of whack, your reps are too high, the weight is too high. You just got to adjust the program or adjust the recovery, because maybe 375 is what you were supposed to have. And if it wasn't what you were supposed to have, you probably weren't recovered because something else wasn't good.
It should have been about 415. You know what I mean?
And then are the variables the same?
Yeah.
Did you have the same amount of caffeine? Did you have the same warm up? Did you have the same sleep? Did you have? I mean, it's all of that.
Yeah.
And that way, you know what?
Hormones.
There's a thing. There's a thing called auto regulation. Like you will know when you feel like trash, and you will know when you can push. Like Monday, I was freaking monster. This Monday, this just 2 days ago, monster. And I don't know where that came from, but I was here for it. And you push when it's there. Today, I feel like trash. The absolute trash. You get through it and you hit numbers, but it doesn't have to be max numbers.
Yeah.
The reps are the reps. The weight is negotiable. That way, all you're trying to do is keep training. So if you're constantly in the basement, you're probably not going to do well for long. I just had a conversation before I came here. It's funny you said that. Because there was a guy who's like, I train 6 days a week, and I feel like death, and I'm always hurt. So stop.
Yeah, quit training so much.
So he goes, yeah, but I use it for, and I said, that's why, time out. Because you are where I was about 5 years ago. Before all the big injuries started coming, I used to use training as therapy.
Yeah, but just like you said, you can't hide behind it when you're hurt.
And so now, stop using it as a pacifier. Because that's all it is an exercise pacifier. You didn't solve nothing.
Well, here's my question, and I agree, but where's the resolve?
No, it's good to push.
Right, but where's the resolve if you don't use that? Like, my question is this. Like, I agree. I'm the same way, and I didn't realize that because I spent 10 years you've known me a long time, so I spent 10 years. Every now and then I would spin up a fight camp and fight, but I was kind of out of the game for, 8 years. But I always worked out. But I was in the AC at the Anytime Fitness, doing the same fucking one muscle group this day, one muscle group the next day, working out in a mirror with my headphones on, with absolutely no struggle.
Sure.
There was no struggle in my workout. There was no, if I didn't feel like doing that today, I'll just do something else. Like it was never putting myself in a position where I didn't want to do something. Now, every fucking day I go to the gym and I look at that workout and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this. And I make myself do it. And that's the therapy for me now versus I think the other thing was just kind of like an ego thing. Like I think it was an ego thing before. Now it's more like a therapeutic thing for me, like making myself do something I don't want to do.
So I would treat it as not pass fail.
Right.
Because I think that's where people get caught up.
You're right.
Did I pass fail? Oh, this is a terrible training session. No, it wasn't. You got to do it. What are you talking about? It's not pass fail. So you can get all the way uncomfortable. It might just only be 65 pounds today. You still uncomfortable, but if you did 85 pounds, what if you tore your shoulder? And you had 2 reps instead of the 12 that you're asking because your ego won't let you out of that because it's pass fail. Mm-hmm. Well, this is the standard WOB. I don't care what the standard is. If you feel twinges, you probably should either alter the movement or alter your expectations. And that way, the goal of this is to constantly seek out challenges and solutions to those problems for the remainder of your life. So when you're maximally strong, your mobility sucks. When you're maximally conditioned, your strength sucks. When you're great at barbell movements, your kettlebell game sucks. So you're constantly seeking out things that you're not good at, and it doesn't matter. that's where I think for years and years and years I got caught up in I need to compare myself to everybody else that they're doing it. It doesn't matter. Once you realize it's just your personal journey that you're trying to get better at your own shit, that's when you get the most.
Yeah.
That's when you get the most. That's when you hurt the least. And that's where you will dig really deep into certain things where before, if it's just because somebody else did it, what does it matter? But if you did it and you're trying to exceed your own expectation, I promise you, you're going to the dirt.
I agree. I think people just need to seek discomfort.
Yeah, dude.
In my opinion, because if you never seek out discomfort, then whenever that uncomfortable position shows itself, you don't know how to deal with it.
That is why I tell people it is so necessary to be ready.
Yeah.
That readiness piece that I tell the military, this is general population. So general population, mom, dad, uncle, sister, cousin, child, I don't care. If you're used to doing things that make you tired and sweaty, you're going to be a better person. You just are. You learn how to struggle through stuff that most people will not, because if it's not spoon-fed to them and it doesn't feel good and it doesn't make our feelings nice, then we view that as a fail. And I just had to have this conversation with my son. Was it Monday? No, that was last night. It was Thursday of last week. He was wrestling with a kid, 11 years old. That little boy's 6 years old, and he's really good.
I've been seeing some videos.
He is really good.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to say that about your kid? I'm telling you.
No, you're the type of person you're going to be, if he sucks, you say he sucks.
I'm saying, look, I'm like, oh, it's not for him.
Yeah.
Bless his heart, he tried.
Yeah.
But he's really good. And he was wrestling an 11-year-old kid, probably double his weight, and he was trying to take him down and couldn't. And I watched him, he just absolutely melted down. And I took him off the mat, and I was like, whoop, nope, absolutely not. And at first, I had to catch myself because I got really pissed that he was that frustrated that he could not get it together. And then you go, okay, he's 6. And this is a really great time to teach a lesson. I said, buddy, you're not going to win everything. I love that you're in here struggling and you're doing everything that you can to win, but you're not going to win everything, and that's good. So when he beats you, good. Next time, try this. But if you are to the point to where you look like you're about to fight, you need to get off the mat, because this is practice. In a match, smash them all day. But in practice, we're trying to solve that problem. So the problem is I can't score on the shot. Well, why? Let's break it down. Why? Instead of getting crazy, which that was my personal fault when I was growing up, as I was going to make it happen, whether or not I had to smash you to death or I was going to outwork you, but I never really learned how to get past the problem. I just thought, okay, if I outwork it, it'll go away. So I'm teaching him to be surgical and then apply that brute nastiness.
Yeah.
So the same thing applies to everybody, man. You need to have that really bad struggle, but you need to be intentional about what you're trying to get out of it. So if you're just struggling to struggle, usually that's stress management.
Yeah.
So if you don't go into every practice that you have or every lifting that you have trying to get some new skill out of it, you're just stress managing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's what I was doing. I was just stress managing, and now I'm actually trying to develop new skill sets.
Yeah, dude. So look, if you know your lat mobility sucks, and you're going, man, my snatch is terrible and it's way forward because I have terrible upper body mobility.
Still is, bro. Mine still is. But it's going to take a long time for me to break down those lats.
And that in your warm up, what'll happen is you'll say, okay, I really am terrible at this. Mm-hmm. Here's what am I going to do to fix this every friggin' day until I get this right.
Bro, my front squat is like an inch. This is as far back as I can get my hands. It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because years of just doing lat pulls and crazy lat, you know how it is. So and one of those things, I'm holding it all on my wrist pretty much.
And it may be one of those things that you may need to get massage therapy and dry needling on your wrist.
Yeah.
And on your shoulders and on your elbows and on your lats to free you up. Because I don't know if you can smash it in there anymore.
Oh, I don't think I can. I've been doing this now for a year and a half. Yeah.
I ain't got nothing.
You ain't good no further back than that.
I used to be pretty mobile.
That's it. Well, I never have been because I guess in the fighting aspects of throwing punches and doing things, yeah, but these movements that are awkward now because I've been doing all these other movements for so long. It's just it binds you up. But what I've noticed in the type of working out and stuff that I'm doing and the conditioning training I'm doing now is like it's versatile. It's something it can be applied to anything. And like I feel like if you can be the elite at everything that we're doing, then you could be elite at anything.
Sure.
You know, because it involves every movement of the body. And some people approach it like you know, because you were a world record holder in pull-ups, weighted pull-ups. Like, well, I'm doing kipping pull-ups now, and you know, trying to get my muscle ups now, and doing like toes bar and stuff like that. Whereas someone who from the bodybuilding world or from just like the Olympic lifting world will look at that and be like, that's not a pull-up because it's not strict. Well, it still is because I'm using my entire body to create momentum, to create reps. I'm not trying to compete against your strict pull-up with a kipping pull-up. I'm just using my body momentum. Just like how many times can you strict pull-up yourself over a wall if you're running from something like bullets shooting at you or something? You know what I mean? Like you can only do it so many times for your muscle fatigue. But if you can use your body, then you can create momentum to get over that wall.
So I think that there's value in everything. Mm-hmm. If you look at it as value and you don't try to fit it into the box that you want it to fit in. Because I used to hate on CrossFit real bad.
I did too. When I met my wife, I was like, I'm not doing that dumb shit. I used to do it when it first came out.
Yeah.
And now I'm like addicted to it because I realized that I've opened my mind to how amazing it could be for the entire physical like structure.
Yeah, man. So like I don't even hate on anybody's approach. I don't care what you're doing in your approach. I just care that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. So if kipping pull-ups are for you, great, man. It's just a different exercise. It's not a pull-up to me. It's a completely different exercise. Yeah. So why would I be mad at you for doing an exercise that works for you in the sport that you want to compete?
But that's something we deal with, right?
Yeah.
Like okay, so here's my question too. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions apparently today. All right. So when we get to a point to like, okay, we have these people who we know we're just trying to get them to, you know, X level. But then you have the YZ level, and those people, is it ever to their detriment that they keep creating a bar that's too high to get to?
Depends.
And then, you know what I'm saying? And then at some point it's like, okay, that's too much.
Depends. So when you're young,
a little bit more.
When you're young, you can get away with more. Right. So, and if your technique is correct, your strength level, your ability or your potential to be what you could be is unlimited. If your technique is flawless and it is just automatic, the bar looks just like 500 pounds. The technique on the barbell should look the exact same when it's 500 pounds. The kipping pull-up should look exactly the same because your mechanics are the same. Yeah. If they're not the same, then you can set the bar way too high because your technique, wherever your technique breaks down is where you're not awesome.
I guess the focus of my question more is like, is it dangerous to someone when they've achieved that pinnacle level of fitness and then they continue to set the bar higher and higher?
Maybe. So with smart programming, you're not going to get busted. Right. If your programming sucks, you're going to get busted. And it may take you 7 years to get that next level of working on the fundamentals of whatever you're doing. It may take you 7 years of chipping, and then you get there. But if you say, okay, I'm going to set the bar, now I'm going to be a games athlete in 3 years, but that ain't going to happen. And if it does, you will be there long, promise. Yeah. You can get there, but stay there. Let me see. Yeah. It usually...
Well, it's just like anything. What's your elite MMA, UFC fighter? Yeah. Like a career, a really good career runs 7 years. Mm-hmm. If you're an elite games athlete, I don't even know what those metrics are, but I would venture to say 4 or 5 years. Short. If you're an elite NASCAR driver, they're still short. Maybe 10 years. You're not putting your body through it, but you are. It's different. Like elite football player, 3 to 4 years, maybe? Short. If you're a quarterback, maybe 7 years. So
that's where you need to have clear expectations of where you're trying to go and why. Then you can prepare.
We're all running this. We're all trying to run and win this race. And then when we finally get there, Well, you can only stay there so long, no matter who you are.
That's the cool part is when you get there, you should already have somewhere else you're trying to go.
Right, but nobody does that.
That's the greatest.
Yeah.
It's because now you don't have the letdown.
But when did you figure that out?
When I hit the top and then was crying in the friggin' parking lot of the Las Vegas Convention Center.
When we talked about talking
And
about national championships or world championships. Excuse me.
And then realizing that this body won't last forever, and that I don't have to be the world caliber anything, but I want to strive for mastery at whatever I'm doing. So, like right now, I'm in week 14, 13 of a new program.
Okay.
And that I switched it because, once again, I told you I'm full of shit.
Well, you sent me your program.
Ooh, that was rough.
Yeah, you sent me that workout the other day. And that's another thing. Like, I saw it, I was like, fuck yeah, that looks awesome. We're doing this right now, but I would like to implement that at some point. But another thing is they think that this program worked for someone, so it's going to work for them. And that's not the case a lot of times. Because just because someone put a workout together does not mean it's going to be to your best advantage to use that workout.
Because they don't know your goals and your abilities.
Yeah.
Because let's say your wife's goal is to pull that 300. If she were to do those intervals on a regular basis, that 300 might not come.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take too much out of her max effort that she won't be able to recover. Let's say she did that once a week.
Yeah.
I promise you that 300 ain't coming.
Yeah.
It's just too much. It's too much tax. I'm not looking for max poundage.
Right.
Because max poundage brings lots of pain for me. So I go away from the pain. Now it's structuring it to where it's 3 days. I only live 3 days. 3 days total body. And each one has its theme of, okay, Monday was pull, Tuesday is push. But each one has legs, and it has the antagonist, and it has like rotation and all the other fun stuff that you can put in there as like pairings. And then Wednesday is always a yoga day. And then Thursday is another
yoga, man.
I do it twice a week.
That's what's up. I need to start doing it. Mobility is key, man.
I told you when I said I was full of shit that there were some areas. And I said, look.
When did you start feeling it? Like, when did you start feeling that gap? Like here recently, since the last time we talked?
As soon as I got off the podcast, I started filling the gap.
Okay.
Because I was in pain all the time. Mm-hmm. And that I wasn't doing the necessary stuff to be ready.
It's just, I feel like it's a uphill battle that you're never going to win.
You won't.
But I agree. Like, those are things that we know are an issue, but at the same time, it's like, I really don't want to do that shit. And it's just like really not like the regular individual who doesn't work out really doesn't want to work out. It's the same thing.
Because you don't get the high. So
you're right. It's not fulfilling to me. Yeah.
We're all drug addicts, and you don't get that same rush.
But I'll tell you this: I stretch a good, typically 5 or 6 minutes, 10 minutes maybe before every workout. But I'm not devoting an X amount of time every week to stretching and doing things, which is something I'm missing out on.
45 minutes Wednesday and Saturday.
That is insane.
45 minutes.
And it's excruciating workout too. People don't realize.
I'm not good at it, and it makes me sweat.
I bet you burned so many damn calories.
I'm shaking.
Dude, that's how I am. Like, I'll do certain positions, and my whole body will start doing this. I'm like, I'm definitely not mobile like I should be.
And so, to me, that's just another puzzle that I'm solving. Because I know what I'm good at. Because like Monday, I did stuff that I was good at, and it felt awesome. I was crushing. Today,
have you seen DDP, Diamond Dallas Page's program? We might have talked about this before. I don't remember, but like where he's working with all these wrestlers who you have to think about the amount of fatigue and muscle like injuries these guys are dealing with, and he's literally like he's prolonged his life by doing that. And he has this entire program that these people were latching onto, and it's working for.
So here's the deal: we always had the answers. We just didn't want them. We didn't want to listen.
Right.
We've always had the answers. You need to be strong. You need to be fast. You need to be flexible. We just don't want to do it. Yeah. You need to go to sleep. You need to eat good things. No, I want pizza. I want to stay up all night. I want to run a marathon the next morning, and then I want to do a CrossFit.
I have very, very few times where food's an issue. It used to be, but it's not now. But my wife fucks with me. She's like, you have an eating disorder because you worry about it too much. I'm like, but I feel like I need to, and this is what works for me. And maybe you could consider it an eating disorder, but For me, it's not. For me, it's more I'm monitoring what's going into my body so that I know what's coming out of my body.
You know, the coolest realization that I've had is I'm not in control of my wife's experience.
Yeah.
And she's not in control of mine.
Right.
And that it's the coolest. And it's humbling because, like, you'll catch yourself getting mad at that person for doing something that you wouldn't do or that you don't want them to do. And I went, whoa, time out. Her life experience is not dictated by me.
Right.
So, like, her fitness journey, her food stuff. If she's in a bad mood, ain't got nothing to do with me. Once you realize ain't got nothing to do with you, man, it's smoother than it was. And that it took me, I just realized that like last week. Because I caught myself being mad about something that I didn't think that she should say or do.
Oh, yeah. I was like, that ain't me.
Time out.
Yeah, we've worked through all that at this point. She just gives me shit about it. I'm like, did I just have this? And she's like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'm putting it in my fitness pal over here.
You know what?
Because I have to, man, because I have so much shit going. Like, if I just had a regular, like, mundane, like, I say Monday, fuck that. If I just had a regular, like, one position where I was only doing one thing and I had one program I was following and I wasn't pulled in 20 different directions, then I would probably be able to mentally keep up with what I'm putting in my body. But I have to write it, like, put it into my app so I know, okay, I have goals to hit every day. I need to hit 200 grams of protein and 100 grams of carbs if I'm working out. And then I'll do like 60 or 70 if I'm not. That seems low to a lot of people, but for me,
it works.
It's optimal.
What's wrong with
Some
that?
people need 150, 200 grams of carbs.
What's wrong with that?
You know, but for me, like if I'm not doing shit that day, 50 to 60 grams of carbs, I'm good. If I'm working out that day, 100, you know, and if I don't hit those marks, then I'm not at peak performance, and I know that, you know.
So,
and I've tried every fucking program out there, every fucking diet out there. I've tried all those things, and this is what works best for me.
That's what I would tell her is I'm trying to be as optimal as I can.
Yeah, she knows. She just likes to give me shit. You know what I mean? Like
she may not have to.
She don't have to. She don't give a fuck. She can eat whatever she wants and literally go, you know, beat my ass in every single activity we're doing.
You know, there will come a time where there'll be something in her life that she's going to have to be really adamant about, and you're going to make fun of her.
Yeah, I already do. There's other things I already make fun of. Yeah, I already do that. I make fun. It's about finances and stuff. She's like down to the book, and I make fun of her about that shit.
She's in the parking lot, checkbook.
Same thing, yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So everybody has something that they're like, no, this has a vice on me, and I need to keep track of it. That's fine. And it's... as long as it doesn't turn into like you will not do other things because you didn't write down something, that's when it can be a problem.
No, it's more like I know where this goes if I don't do this.
Sure.
And it's not optimal.
And it's responsible because, look, if it's something that you enjoy and it's just you're finding out new normals of what work for you, then you can set up a system to where you don't have to log it. You just do it because you keep yourself honest.
Yeah.
You know exactly what to eat because you know what a quarter cup is. You know what 4 ounces is. You know what a tablespoon is. Like, you got it. It's just, for you, it's a mental checklist of, okay, I did this today.
Yeah.
So same thing as how you have the stupid watch. You follow the rings.
Yeah, I do that because some days, believe it or not, pull higher strains than other days, and it's all based on what my recovery was. Did I have a glass of tequila?
Yep.
Is that going to lower my recovery? Yeah, probably, but I enjoy one every now and then. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm willing to gamble. Like, well, I don't say gamble. I'm willing to deal with that, and I'm going to, you know, prioritize and, like, adjust accordingly. You know what I mean?
So you wouldn't try for your 5x5 Crazy Max after this? It wouldn't be.
No, but I am going to go teach a CrossFit class here in 2.5 hours.
Nice.
But this is it. This is the last class. Well, I mean, I would equate that to about maybe 4 or 5 ounces today, and that's okay. But I'm not doing that if I'm pulling maxes now.
No. And that way, like tomorrow is a yoga day. It's not impactful for anything in life.
For you, yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, so you're chill. You're
No,
like,
there's
whatever.
nothing.
Drink some water.
Yeah, there's nothing that's going to hurt me.
So have you honed in your diet, like, because we've talked about this multiple times, but have you really like figured out what works for you, like in a like, say, like, macro standpoint?
Yeah, and really the only thing I've tracked really, really closely is how much protein that I get.
Okay, and so what's your? I have to get at least this. What's your bare minimum?
That's like 210.
210. And how much do you weigh?
210.
Okay. So you're Arnold Schwarzenegger approach. You're like, okay, it's for every pound at 1 gram.
It's just simple.
I'm the same way. It's amazing if I can get 250. Sometimes it's hard.
I can't eat it because then it excludes everything else.
Yeah.
Because there's too much chewing. And that protein powder is $80 a jug. It's freaking dumb.
I don't do a lot of synthetic protein. I'm doing like a pre-mixed 30-gram drink in the mornings, and then I'm consuming a lot of meat.
Like Fairlife ones?
I know I do the muscle milk, the non-dairy muscle milk ones. I've been doing those for a while now, but I do those in the morning, and I took it I went back to like an intermittent fasting for a couple weeks, and I felt bloated and didn't feel like I've done intermittent fasting in the past, and I felt great. Mm-hmm. But here recently, I didn't feel that great, and I was like kind of bloated, and I gained 2 or 3 pounds. I was like, what the fuck? It feels weird. But to my point, I also recently, we talked about the TRT thing. I'm now active on that.
See?
Before I was just taking Clomid, my levels were down. Everything's changed, so like now I'm, so my hormones are probably back where they need to be because I have to be on it now because I've kind of abused shit in the past.
So what I would caution you is go give blood.
Yeah.
Like
kind of drain the system, kind of refuel.
Frequent.
Yeah.
So
I haven't done that this year yet.
That's where you don't have to do it every month or anything.
I feel like once a year is good, and I felt like I was on a track doing that, and I haven't done that.
I do it
this
every
year.
quarter.
Well, that's what's up.
I go every quarter.
Do you feel like do you feel like to you it just kind of like refuels the system, like makes your body have to produce?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to not feel awesome. I feel great.
I've never felt bad. Every time someone says, "Oh man, I feel like shit" and pass out or whatever, I feel woozy. I've never felt bad at all.
Man, I feel great, and it's not going to hurt you none. So
you just go on a live share and just sitting down.
That's exactly what I do.
That's what I used to do. I used to go for the free blood test for fighting. For fighting and shit competition. What I'm saying? All those fighters out there know what I'm talking about too, bro. They're like, "Hey, bro, go to live share. They'll test your blood for free. You don't have to pay for it."
Yeah, that's funny, man. See, now one thing I was going to ask you because I've been wrestling with this concept for a minute. How do you make sure that you win, but your family doesn't lose?
Oh, I involve them in everything. Professionally, okay.
Because
I'm sure talking about like if I'm not putting too much time onto my profession and then excluding them.
I'm sure there's times where you've been offered some wild stuff, but you go, but they're going to lose, so I can't do it.
I've come to grips with that. So I recently adopted the children, which I
I
haven't even announced this yet, so super over the moon about that. And so I don't know, man. I feel like for the longest time I was so about me, and I've took a selfless approach, and everything's changed in my life now to where I put them ahead of me. And my wife gives me shit because I say this, and but I feel that like I do so much shit, and it used to be all for me. Like, it used to be all fulfilling for me. Like, I wanted to do this fight thing, or I want to do this announce thing because it was fulfilling for me. Well, now this is like, us having conversation is more like my therapy now, this and working out. So, I'm doing this for me, but it's for my well-being, I feel like. And people get something out of this because I get positive feedback by us having conversations.
This might be for them later.
Maybe so, and that's a great thing, right? So, like, maybe some legacy shit.
So that way they go back and hear how you were thinking when they were kids.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, wait a minute.
And
I understand why
don't you wish we would have had our parents do that?
What? Man,
we would have so much insight and really know what they feel like. Because if you live that whole life and never really had that conversation, and then they die, and then you never knew how they felt about things.
This guy.
Same here. Same here. So
you can't get it.
But to answer your question, I'm at the point now where I'm not putting myself in a position to where I'm excluding them. There are some times where we have things where they have to go, like, so the kids have to go here for the weekend so we can do this thing, and maybe that's excluding them, but that's life, right? But, like, I don't feel like that I'm making decisions to where I'm putting them on the back burner. Mm-hmm. And my wife is at the point now where we have multiple businesses, and she's involved in these multiple businesses, and I give her like a daily download of what's going on, so she doesn't ever feel left out, and the kids know that we live a busy lifestyle. So they're like, we leave the house, they know we're working, and we're home, they know we're not working. And we don't, even when we're home with the kids there, we don't work that much while they're awake.
Makes sense.
Now we may, after they go to sleep, we may work on some things, or they're not there during the day, we'll work on some things. But to answer your question, I just feel like I've got that. I got a decent balance. I think there's so many people that put their career in front of their family, and it really, really hurts them down the road. But I don't think we're doing that. I don't feel like we are. Yeah, I could be better in some, areas, but I think that as a family, like we all go to the gym together. Mm-hmm. We all go out to eat once a week. We all sit down and watch a movie at least once a week together. We all go on like some type of outing once a week, so I feel like we have enough time to where the gaps where we may not be available are filled with other things.
That makes sense. And the only reason why I ask this is because I'm constantly presented with there's some wild stuff. Yeah. And then you go, I don't think I should take it because if I win, they might lose.
I agree. I've had multiple situations where like, you could do this, this, and this. I'm like, well, how would that affect my family? Yep. I've been in those situations. And yes, 5 years ago, I'd have been like, fuck that. Hell yeah. Now I'm like, no, there's no way. I'm not doing that. I'm
thinking like their development, their comfort level, their like, how much am I out versus in? And I keep hearing people tell me, well, not all money is good money.
Yeah.
And it's constantly weighing back and forth and back and forth. It's hard, and maybe the ladies don't understand this. Maybe they do, but for a dude, that's your role is to make sure
we're wired that way. Even though like there's like a toxic masculinity and all this dumb shit, like we're wired that way, and we just are. Like I feel like we are the hunter and the gatherer. We are the one who's supposed to provide. And that's how we were wired. That's how we were raised. So when we feel like that we miss an opportunity to do so, we may feel a little less than. And sometimes that would project that, sometimes that would look like, well, you passed up an opportunity because you wanted to do this, but you could have done this because of that kind of scenario, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I was wondering because you got a lot going on.
So
there's only, I always think there's only one of me. How do you keep from getting to like, this is DJ's time?
Well, I've optimized my time though, right? Like I'm involved in multiple things, but I can do them all at once, if that makes sense. Like, okay, so like 2 or 3 hours a week I dedicate to this. Okay. 6 or 8 hours a day I dedicate to my main hustle. And then I have another business that is active on the weekends, at least 12 hours a week. I'm dedicated to that one hustle. And then I have another hustle that I spend 30 minutes a day on.
Okay.
And so like I can make all that work and still have plenty of time to where I'm not working 20 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? But some people don't put themselves in the scenario. They may have a day job and then try to do a side hustle, and it leaves absolutely no time.
Right.
At home, where mine, I'm spending about 10 hours a day working.
Got it.
On my main hustle and my 2 side hustles, and then I would call this a hobby, a productive hobby, so that's what my layout looks like. But if you're extending yourself out to overextending yourself to where you're spending 15 hours a day, then yeah, I could see where it would bleed in. But I'm kind of like you, where like I'll like want to go on a tear and do this and try this and do that and see what opportunities. And I've kind of just figured out what my strengths are and I play on those. Yeah, there's a bunch of times where I could have went off and take $1 million deals. And I don't say that loosely. But then I would literally sacrifice everything else, and it's just not worth it.
That's where, like, I'll get every now and then I'll get something that's just laid in front, and you go, like, what do you do? And it hurts my whole heart when I tell them, hey man, thanks but no thanks.
Yep.
Because I know it's not only is it not in a good location, it's not going to be great for the fam.
Yeah.
So that's good. See, we're on the same page.
Is your wife, she retired yet? Nice. Fully. What's she doing? So what's she going to do?
Man,
she just hanging out right now, enjoying it? Or?
That lady is the planner of all planners. I can't keep track of nothing, but she keeps me.
You don't need to.
She's keeps me where hey, this is due this date. We are here.
Dude, that is my wife.
I'm leaving.
We need to hang out. They get along well.
Yeah, I'm leaving Friday from New Orleans. Yep. I didn't even know I was leaving Friday. It was like, yeah, we're leaving Friday. Here's the hotel. We got this going on.
What y'all doing in New Orleans, man?
they got another gymnastics meet.
Nice.
And then we'll be in Knoxville 2-3 weeks after that.
So I'm gonna get my daughter. I think she's ready. Like we tried like year before last, and she wasn't quite ready as far as like doing her own thing. But now I feel like she's confident enough where she can do it.
How old?
She's 7.
Oh yeah, get her in there.
She's good now, but like we tried it when she was like 5.
No. She might not have been ready.
But now she's ready, and her mom like she can do it easily.
Where's she want to go?
I don't know. Wherever. We just need to do it.
We go to Bossier. We go to Bossier right now. They're good. They're good people, man. And that for kids coming in for basic stuff.
How often are they doing stuff? Like once, twice a week?
No, my kids are in there 4 hours a day, 3 days.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
4 hours a day.
4 out from 4:30 to 8:30.
Holy shit!
My youngest daughter's in there.
Is that like required or is that just
no? That's the travel ladies.
So we're talking about travel stuff,
just
like
basic stuff. A couple days a week.
Okay, that's what I'm. We're gonna start on basic.
Couple
that travel shit, bro.
It's dangerous.
I feel like we talked about all the baseball travel shit and all that.
You can get sucked into the wormhole.
You want one last little pull on this? Or are you good?
No, I'm good.
All right, I'm gonna get.
I'm gonna train again.
Get a little bit, yeah. Oh, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna train again.
Right,
I trained this morning, but I'm gonna do some boxing today.
Okay.
Like my son, right now, my son and I have a daily requirement where he straight up stopped me and said, "I'm going to train." I said, "What? Why are you going out there and train?" He said, "I'm trying to be the greatest." Straight up was like, "No, I'm going to train." I said, "Why?" "Because I want to be the greatest." I said, "That's what I'm talking about, buddy. What are you gonna do?" He said, "I'm gonna do some pull-ups." Yeah, he said, "So I'm going to do some pull-ups. I'm doing some box jumps, and then I'm gonna run the stop sign, and then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna do some push-ups." I said, "Good for you, buddy."
I have noticed that rubbing off on the children. Like they'll go outside to play some days, and they have their own weights. So like we got her own Rogue bar, but it's a smaller, it's a 5-pound Rogue bar, but you can put Olympic weights on it.
Where'd you get that?
Dude, we ordered it. It was like fucking $80, but hey, it was worth it because she'll get it out. They'll get it. Yeah, it's legit. It's like this.
That's cool.
It's
little kid bar,
like this long, but you put Olympic weights on it.
That's nice.
I think it weighs 5 pounds.
That's cool.
And you load up 5s on it, 10s on it, and they'll get out there and they'll do stuff. And I watch them, and I send the shit to because like my lady's still fully employed in the police department, so she's still working on the weekends most of the time. And I'll send her videos of this shit, and like they'll be out there doing deadlifts, and they'll do like balls, like they'll throw the medicine ball in the air. And then they'll do like push-ups and sit-ups. I'm like, they have been watching us too damn long. At least they know what to do. Because at that age, my parents weren't doing that shit. So I didn't like. I was like, at least we have some type of. You can look at them like if they're doing that on their free time out there playing, they'll drag that out in the yard and do it on their free time.
So you're training the next wave of non-softies.
Yeah.
So like circling all the way back to the first thing of why are people not as tough? Parents, they didn't make us do the things, not us.
Right.
They didn't make the kids do the things that were hard, and they didn't have any. They didn't do any of that hard labor. So the kids didn't have anything to look at. Now there are kids that see that, and that's normal.
Well, there's a whole generation, like our parents or even us growing up, because no one pushed me to do these things. I found these things later. But like, it's cool to get fucked up and hang out.
Yeah.
It's cool to drink with your buddies and chase women. It's cool to, be lackadaisical and poison your body. It's cool to eat like shit and hang out here and do this. It's cool to smoke weed or do so many drugs that you get fucked up. Like, I remember when like syrup, like, and like purple drink,
lean and all
like,
that.
yeah. And then fucking like bars, Xanax bar. I remember when all that was cool. If you were doing that, you were cool in high school. And I'm like, we grew up in that time to where that's what was cool.
Drug culture.
Yeah. And so, and like getting fucked up at parties. And yeah, of course I did it. Of course I've been there and done that. And I enjoy the occasional thing, but it's just funny how that works. Like that grooms so many people to be soft and to not be able to get in positions to where something's hard and, face resistance.
I think we're seeing the swing back of like now, because we know different stuff, you're teaching your kids different stuff.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you have to teach them things that I never, ever, ever thought that I would teach a kid.
Like
ever,
what? Like
ever,
what?
ever.
Like what?
My daughter told me, and that, no shade on anybody. This is personal choices on everybody's end. But my daughter told me that a man could have a baby. And I said, no, baby, they can't. And that regardless of what side you stand on with that thing, and I love everybody. You do whatever is going to work for you. But I never, ever thought that, number one, I would have to tell somebody biologically what was possible, and that you had to explain kind of what that was weird to me. And then I never thought that I would have to tell my kid, if you ever see somebody with a gun, do this. I never, ever would have thought that if, tell them to eat something that is green and alive, like that was foreign to them. Never, ever in my mind did those three things ever. And that never would I ever have to tell my son, like, well, if somebody's trying to fight me, do I fight him back? Are you out of your damn mind, sir? I said, look here, what do you do? Well, I tell a teacher first. Teacher don't help you. Then you whip their ass. And then if the teacher gets mad at you, then I come and help you.
Yeah. That's my son just went through this last week, and my wife texted me, and she said he got punched in the back, and he's at the principal's office, and she said laugh out loud. And look, anyone who thinks that we're not sympathetic or anything, it's not the case. But here's the thing. If someone hits you and here's the conversation. If someone hits you, then you hit them back. If someone's being aggressive towards you and rude to you, then you tell on them, and then they take. But if someone puts their hands on you first, then you return that. That's how I believe. If you're not for that, then okay, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But he's like, well, I didn't want to get in trouble. I'm like,
with who?
But weren't you in the principal's office anyways?
Yeah, with who? Because I tell them
you might as well be there on the winning side.
Yeah, I told them with who. You ain't gonna get in trouble with me.
You're not gonna get in trouble with me because I'll come there and whoop some teachers' ass if they got a problem. If they're male teachers, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, but I'm joking. But like, no, I'm serious. Like,
he's like, no, but I'm not joking.
No, my thing is though, it's like if you're gonna, I'm not going to. You need to stand up for yourself, no matter how that may be. Maybe it's not physical. Maybe it's verbally. However it is, I'm trying to teach them that you need to stand up for yourself. You don't need to take no shit, but at the same time, you need to be respectful to everyone. And that's very hard, right? Because growing up for me, getting in fights was cool. I'd see my dads, uncles, whatever growing up, like you're the exact same position as I was growing up. So it's like, man,
because they're like, yeah,
and it's it's bragging rights. Just like hooking up with a chick or talking to a chick, that's bragging rights, right? So you're just like, yeah, man, blah blah blah. This girl, hung out, whatever. Or yeah, man, I hit this dude the other night because he was talking shit. Like now, to me, that's not cool anymore. Now it's like, if you put in a position to threaten someone, then you need to return that threat with, force, because you need to stand your ground, and I believe in that. But I also believe that there's a time and a place for that. Like, I'm not fighting nobody unless you pay me.
Dude, I'm telling you
or
right
if
now,
you threaten my family or my well-being, like my livelihood, like as far then but I'm not. If someone's like 10 years ago, somebody's like, so-and-so's talking shit. I'm there, bro. What's up? Let's throw down. Now so-and-so's talking shit, and
like, all right,
you want to pay me $10,000 to fight? Okay, then we'll fight. You know what I mean? Like in a ring with rules and regulations. That way, no one dies.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, you being a little bitch. Yep, I am.
Yep.
I am.
Call it like I see it, bro.
You know what?
I'm a bitch.
You're right.
Yeah,
and that as long as they don't put hands on you, then words ain't gonna hurt me.
Right, exactly. And you can talk all the shit you
telling
want.
the kid the same thing. If somebody were to hurt you or try to hurt you, you get away and you tell a said teacher.
Right, I agree.
And if said teacher doesn't help, you handle that so you are okay, and then I'll come and help you out.
Yeah, we'll handle that later. But like if and that's another thing, like the bullying thing. Like if someone's bullying you, man, the only way we all know this. The only way to stop a bully is to return fire.
So that I never ever thought that I would have to give the bully talk ever,
dude. Oh, you're having to give it?
Oh man, I talk about it all the time. I said, look here. Do you know the best way to have a bully leave you alone is, number one, either you become friends with the bully and figure out, oh, look, anybody that's bullying you is not feeling good about what's going on in their life, and that, look, something bad at home is happening. And so don't think that's a bad person. They just have a bad time.
Yeah.
And that if you can find a way to like de-escalate or become their friend, they're not going to bother you. Or if they really have it out for you and they're trying to hurt you, try to avoid. Tell the teacher, get away from them. And if you can't, if there's a 50 Cent saying that I don't want a problem, But if there is a problem, I say no problem.
Yeah.
And then if you go away and they keep following, then you give them what they asked for, and then you don't have any apologies about it.
Yeah.
That way, when I get to you, I said, okay, was the teacher told? Yeah, they told us, but we didn't think anything. Did they do anything about it? Yeah, he smashed them down, and hopefully he didn't kick him in the face or anything, but he smashed them down on the ground, did something crazy, and then said, okay, so, I mean, are we good, or is there a problem? And hopefully it's, okay, there was a teacher that was supposed to help, or a principal. There was a conflict resolution, and then there was a solution of, probably shouldn't touch my kid.
Yeah.
And then we're about going back to school.
Yeah.
I think that's the greatest.
No, I mean, it's great when it works like that, but a lot of times it doesn't, right?
I don't want my girls fighting, though.
Did you grow up in Michigan?
Yeah.
Like, how close to Detroit?
About 45 minutes.
All right, so what was it like experience? I just thought about this, and I have to ask you, what was it like experience the rise of Eminem in that subculture?
It was weird, man.
Because
Kid Rock was the same. It's the same.
Right, he's the
time.
same era. It's the same, but
weird.
Two completely different extremes. But you were there for it.
It was weird, like the whole 8 Mile thing. Because, like, granted, did I hang out in Detroit all the time? No.
Right.
I went down there to get some short sets from Conner Avenue. You get the hood rats matching short sets. It had the shorts. It had like the plaid shorts with the plaid button up and the visor for $20. Oh, you thought you was doing something.
Hell yeah.
But like seeing that come up, it was cool to have somebody from where you're from be like really famous.
That was my question. Like experiencing that firsthand, because that was a shakeup in the industry.
It was cool.
Both extremes.
And it was
one
cool
extreme to the other. Like,
because you didn't see very many white rappers do anything cool like that.
Anyone
I thought it was
do
awesome.
like,
I thought that was great. And I mean, the dude was wild. He would say anything he wanted, and that nobody could check him because he was that dude.
Yeah.
So he's still that guy.
Yeah.
Let somebody say something bad and watch how bad they get flamed for 6 minutes on a track. It's real bad. It's real bad for anybody.
Yeah.
That's why everybody leaves him alone.
Yeah.
Now, Kid Rock, that's a whole nother kind.
That's a whole nother culture, man.
That dude has a White House on his property.
Yeah. He lives in a White. He has a golden shower in his house.
Yeah, he's wild. I heard about that dude. Now, I think it'd be cool to meet him. Like,
Yeah.
I never went to no concerts or anything. But I think it'd be cool.
Growing up, you didn't go to any concerts?
I didn't.
Me
First
either.
concert I ever went to, I was 20 years old.
I don't think
I seen T.I.
I think, what?
Yeah, it was a dub concert series. My cousin took me of all things. I came from college. I seen T.I., Young Jeezy, and Paul Wall. Paul Wall opened up for, Ludacris opened up. I didn't even know it was Ludacris. Some little dude with afro running around. and then Paul Wall came on. And then
People's
Jeezy, and then T.I. was like the featured one.
Okay.
It was cool. So it was a dub.
What year was this?
2001. No, 2005.
Okay, gotcha.
2005. 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Right when before Luda was like, no, hold on, no, it wasn't. That had to have been like 2002 because that's before Luda came out with that album. With the big album
with
that
the
he had.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, before he had any of that. So that's the first time I ever went to a concert.
One.
I was 20 years old.
We had
no money.
I didn't go. Yeah, we didn't either. I think I went to a country concert when I was a wee young lad, and then I think I might have went to one. But yeah, I remember seeing Kid Rock in I was 14. And my uncle took me for my birthday, and it was the craziest shit because there were strippers on each corner of the stage. And my uncle, we were cool. And he had his girlfriend there. We had a good time. It was awesome. You know what I mean? But that was just something to experience. But I don't think before then I'd ever been to a concert. But that's funny. But I was thinking to myself, Michigan, Eminem. I don't know why that popped in my mind, but I just feel like that shook up the industry. Yeah,
there was nobody really that was big from Detroit like that.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I asked about him because he's the only when I think Detroit. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Kid Rock didn't come to mind first. Eminem did, and it just.
Bob Seger was pretty big.
Yeah, but that was before our time. That was before our time.
Yeah, it's a different genre too.
Yeah,
so it didn't blow up like that. Mm-mm. So you got athletes and that
you got a lot of athletes.
Eminem, there's a lot of athletes. You get Eminem, Kid Rock, smaller ones like Trick.
Yeah.
you don't get a whole lot out of there. But when 8 Mile came out, like, you would have thought that was the anthem of forever.
Everybody was yelling.
Everybody thought that they could freestyle. They cannot. You know what I'm saying? So it was like that was pretty cool to be able to say, you know, somebody was from there. But
yeah,
really, Michigan it's just blue collar, really hard working people.
Yeah, I've never been. I've heard that. I've heard it's, you know, it's like it was at one point it was the Mecca. Yeah. Of industry and manufacturing, and that's what I hear. You know, and for the longest time, it was almost a ghost town.
If you ever come back, I didn't even recognize it last time I was home. I went home in July for 2 weeks. I've never taken a 2-week trip ever because I've just worked my whole life. But went there for 2 weeks. I didn't even recognize Detroit when I seen it. It was so built up. I mean, nice houses where some people take offense to it because they say it's gentrification.
Gentrification, that's what I'm going to bring up, yeah.
But you got to look at it. It brought so many jobs, so much industry, so much money to the area. Not saying that gentrification is right at all, but I think that that area needs to be brought back to what it was when the auto industry was, however they need to do it. Yeah. I don't care if Tesla needs to go there. It don't matter.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, Tesla's,
they're
here to stay, yeah. They're here to stay. No, they're not going anywhere. But I mean, as an American company, they're stable now at this point. They're only going to grow.
I guess in the South, it probably was weird to you guys to see this dude from Michigan like get crazy big. You're like, who the fuck is this dude from way up north? What is he talking about? He just came out of nowhere. Like I remember hearing mixtapes of him from like.
Well, I was a little behind the times, but I mean, I say that it was ahead of my time. But I just when that shit hit. It was insane. It was insane in our culture because it was like, and we could talk about this because you're in the middle. It's like there was black people loved it, white people loved it. Very rare. Like different, like all walks of life was like, hell yeah, this shit's like everyone talked about it. Like, and way before 8 Mile, like just when the tracks, like when MTV, I remember whenever he shook up the MTV Music Awards with like the real Slim Shady. I don't even know if Josh remembers that, but like so like when that shit happened and like the bleach blonde hair and the white tee and like that, just I mean, he just blew the culture out of water, man. It just shook up the game and everyone. I think it unified that rap culture. Like I really do.
I think it's cool because beforehand, who you had. Mark Wahlberg, Snow.
You didn't have nobody. Like, man, but that was like Marky Mark, but that was like still like a
boy band kind of
boy band thing. You didn't have no one that was like ripping fucking tracks and like literally threatening like people. Like
I love it.
I'm not fucking with this dude.
And I love it that like the whole 8 Mile thing of when he like I use that a lot. And Eminem, I appreciate you. If you ever listen to this, I use this a lot because you can disarm people so easy when you tell them all the bad stuff about you. Before they can say it.
Oh yeah, when he did that with the old
man, I do that all the time. I like in a conversation if we're having a disagreement. Say, yeah, I understand. I know that I'm this.
Yeah, dude says, I'm this. I'm still standing here screaming, "Fuck the free world!"
Yeah. And that way, you put out all the flaws. They can't say anything.
Yeah,
they can't say anything. Can't use it against you. And now it's just me and you just talking.
Yeah.
Yep. I know you hate me because this. And that I think that if you applied that to like business negotiation. Or marital dispute.
Oh yeah, if you put it all out on the table ahead of time, it's like, look,
everywhere.
I suck at this, and this. Now let's talk about this.
I do it in every scenario.
Very good.
That you already can acknowledge what you're not good at, and there's no pride. So look, I know I'm not good at this. I'm really great at this. That's why I approach you. When did
it like sink in for you to like let go of the ego thing? Because I feel like I've completely let go of that shit. I don't give a fuck.
COVID
made you let go of it?
You have time to think.